his place on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of the session, Mr. Kumarvel, with a round of applause. Very warm welcome to you, sir. I invite the distinguished speaker, Dr. Prateep V. Philip, ADGP Economic Offences Wing, Tamil Nadu. Very warm. Mr. C.K. Kumarvel is a co-founder of the most admirable saloon brand, Naturals. Naturals is a visionary, and he's in his own right credited with eradicating the word housewife. The starting point was his encouraging wife, Veena, to start something new. Naturals grew from a small seed of an idea, is today a 200 plus strong saloon chain webbing across the country. The main focus of Naturals at present is widening its reach further through the franchisee mode in order to span operations quicker across the country. Mr. C.K. Kumarvel's belief, in fact, that women are as equally, if not more efficient than men are. And Natural's strength, he says, is the easy and simple formula of helping an ordinary woman who's passionate about becoming a businesswoman, engaging in franchisee options. I hand over the session to the chairman, Mr. C.K. Kumarvel, and also request him to introduce the distinguished speaker.
Respected speaker for the event, Dr. Prateep Philip, Group Captain Vijay Kumar, and my friends from MMA. First time when Vinoj called me to say that he wants me to chair the session, I said, no, I don't know. I haven't tried something like that before. I had spoken about natural success or Raga's failure in quite a few forums, but I have never chaired a session. So this is something new. I resisted and I said, no boss, I don't want to do it because I don't know. Then I realized I was preaching to the entire world that which is very close to my heart, which is anything worth doing is worth doing badly in the beginning. So let me give it a shot of chairing a session and learning from there of how to chair a session and take it forward. And that's how I began to speak, and that's where I'm here. So thank you, Vinoj, and thank you, MMA, thank you, Vijay, for this wonderful opportunity. Mr. Prateep Philip, the ADGP, I'm not going to speak about what he is going to speak. I have heard him speak in a couple of occasions. I'm going to talk to you of what I felt which is very special about him from my angle. First time I met him was in a book launch by Sanjay Pinto in Landmark. And that was the first time I met you, sir. And he spoke so well. I thought, hey, here is a IPS officer who is able to speak very well, and it was a pleasant surprise for me. Got introduced to then, and quickly I saw him in another forum where he spoke about his career and how he has built his career, which was suddenly when he spoke, it was that booming voice which comes and hits you very differently. And that was a real thing. And then the way in which he spoke, I said, boy, this is something which we should learn and listen to quite often. And I'm glad that I'm getting that opportunity once more. While he was speaking, couple of points which was very important to me, which I took home, was one is you need to be a continuous learner. Everyone can excel in one skill. Lot of people, we have come across people who are one-roll wonders. Say suppose they are sportsmen, they excel in a sport, and after that in their real life, they don't know how to handle. And so is a doctor, so is an engineer, and so many people we come across in life who are a one-roll wonder. But here is a person who can handle the IPS and the ADGP, the post so well, at the same time find time for other things which is so important and which he loves, and he comes and communicates that and enriches people. For that I should say a hearty congratulations and best wishes to him. In football, there are two sets of people. One set of people is the left foot people and another set of people is the right foot people. And there is a 15% of the people who are two-footed. Zidane, the George Best or the Cristiano Ronaldos are the people who can play forward as well as backward. These are the sets of people who will make a large difference. They get paid more, that is incidental, but they also impact the world a lot more. And that is where Philip, apart from performing his role as an IPS officer, his role in communicator and educating the society and helping the society to look at from a completely different angle is a very commendable job what he is doing. To that I am very thankful. The second one is learn to work hard on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you will make a living. If you make hard on yourself, you will make a fortune. Whether you work hard on yourself or whether you make hard on your job is the difference between most people who are surviving in life and who are being successful in life. That is where he comes in. He is working hard on his job. That is one portion. There is another portion. He is also working hard on himself, which is what is making him a communicator, making him do so many innovative things which is different from a normal, what do you call, so many people have done IPS, IAS. It's not an easy profession. You have to really sweat it out. You need to really work hard. I'm no way saying that administrative profession is easy. It is very taxing. It consumes time. It is very challenging. And on top of it, if someone is able to find time for doing another version or another something which is of interest, I think that is something which I feel is a great thing what he is doing. So to that, thank you so much for that. The last point, I met him a couple of months back in an event, in a fashion show event in GRT, and that's when I met his family and his daughter. It's individuals win. A lot of people win. They win. But are they winning as a team? Is their family winning? That's very important. One person coming and playing well and going ahead and the family is not coping up and they are living on his glory. It's a very wrong way to live life. I think his daughter was doing the choreography, was doing the fashion designing in her own right. She is a successful and she is claiming the ladder. Prateep has only helped her to become more successful. I think that is another thing which I feel is very important. I close off with my last thing which I feel is the sums up whatever I am trying to say, which is the focus. Whatever you want to do, you should focus on that thing very well. Morning, Sachin Tendulkar or an A.R. Rahman is today considered genius because A.R. Rahman in the morning talks about music, he breathes music, he thinks music, he connects with music. And Sachin Tendulkar right from morning plays cricket, dreams cricket, sees cricket, and he lives cricket. That is where the focus is very important. A lot of us, we all want to become successful on one side, hey, we want to do something. And quickly we said, this is not working and we get into the other thing, doesn't work out. If you chase two rabbits, you will catch neither. You need to focus. That's very important. Second thing is focus plus improvement, plus daily improvement. A lot of people do focus and do the same thing again and again and again. Hey, you need to improve on that daily. Don't do the same thing. It is not important to be busy. So are the ants. The question is, what are you busy about? You need to improve on that daily. Last thing is focus plus daily improvement plus time. Everything requires time. A baby requires 9 months and 1 week, even if you marry 9 women. So you need to give time the time. Give that time, focus plus daily improvement plus time equal to genius. And that's what I am handing over the mic to the genius, Mr. Prateep. Thank you so much.
Great morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Great morning, sir.
Good. First time hearing an equal response. All together, great morning.
Great morning.
Mr. Kumaravel, I do not know why you are a diffident. You are a natural chairman because hair man, you just add a C, you become a chairman. So respected chairman, sir, the organizers of this exclusive, unique and high-powered conclave on leadership, the group captain, Mr. Vijay Kumar, and a good journalist, a journalist who focuses on positive news. Because journalists are taught that when a dog bites a man, it's not a news, but when a man bites a dog, it is news. But here is one man who writes when there is no biting and there is only good news. So he has to be congratulated for this spark of an initiative which is going to sow the seed of leadership across the country. India is truly a great country. As a young student, I wrote south of England, south of Germany. There is one land greater than most, weaker than none, that is my India. And for that India of our dreams to be realized, on this very first anniversary, coincidentally, of a man who is known as the People's President, a man whom I knew somewhat well in my interactions with him as a DIG intelligence, and he was my protectee. On this day, we need to really deliberate on this most important subject as indicated by the keynote address of the chief guest. Everything in the world rises and falls on leadership. This is what John Maxwell, a lifelong author on leadership, writes. Everything in the world rises and falls on leadership. It is the law of gravity of human management. A Philippism that I wrote recently was, leadership is all about direction, while management is all about directions. Is there a difference between the two, direction and directions? How many of you think there is a difference? Leadership is all about direction, while management is all about directions. Management is all about the operational plan, as was mentioned by Mr. Venki. It's about the operational details, while leadership is about prioritizing. Where do you want the world to go? Is it going to break the world, as Rabindranath Tagore wrote, with narrow fragmented walls of religion, racism, color, gender, and class? Our leadership should focus on creating a world of harmony and unity. The call for leaders is to create harmony and unity, to be pro-life. And that's why this concept that people, purpose, and passion are the key core elements of leadership. Yes, leadership has to be people-centric. I will illustrate it with regard to some of the things I experienced as a police officer. It's not as if I am a leader who is already born to be a leader, but rather, as this image shows, each of us is a leader in the making. Every Indian is a leader in the making. Don't look up to leaders out there and romanticize them. Make them icons. The very word icon, what does it mean? Icon. Icon myself and icon others. So we need to be iconoclasts in that sense, to break down these icons of leadership and view each of ourselves as a leader in the making. And if I can do it, you can do it. If you keep doing what you can, you'll end up doing what you cannot. This is another Philippism that I wrote. Keep doing what you can, you'll end up doing what you cannot. To give you an illustration, my dream was to write a lot of books. So some 6 years ago, I said, let me write one page every day for the rest of my life, assuming that I'm going to live for 10,000 days, 10,000 pages, which will translate into some 100 plus books. And already I've covered now something like 2,000 pages in the last 6 years. So a leader is somebody who attempts to do the impossible in terms of possible steps. What a leader does, he translates the timeless values and principles which are present in all nations, all organizations, which is incipient in every human being. He translates those principles into habits, and those habits will turn into achievements of transformation of human nature. So basically the clay, we are dealing with clay as shown in this picture, and that has to be molded. Leadership is about molding people. Leadership is not something that you do to people, but it is what you do for people and with people. It is not a one-man affair, but it is a team affair. As the word team suggests, the principle together everyone achieves more. It is said one donkey can pull 1 ton, but you put together 2 donkeys, it can pull 21 tons. That is the synergy that leadership produces. It is not a scientist working alone in a laboratory trying to create an invention to change the quality of life of human beings, but it is people working together. So as a police officer, when I joined, I found that the police job is awesome in terms of responsibility, but in terms of the odds against police, it is huge. You have 1 policeman for every 1,000 citizens in a country like India. In, say, developed countries of Europe and others, it translates into 1:500. Even then, it is quite a huge odds of a policeman trying to prevent crime, because any one of these 500 or 1,000 decide to commit an act of terror, which is now so frequent. Today in Japan, one young guy has decided to kill 450 disabled people for whom he was caring in a facility a few months ago, and he has succeeded in killing 19. So some people are determining success in terms of the number of people they can kill. And that's where leadership is the most vital thing that we need today for the future of humanity. It is not just for progress, but for the preservation of the species. Leadership is highly critical, and leadership has to be people-centric. Next. Yep. So James Yen, one of the pioneers of a public literacy campaign in China, due to persecution, he fled and he moved to Philippines and led a highly successful literacy campaign. And this is the credo which has guided me from my early years, as it has guided people like M.K. Gandhi. Go to the people, live among them, learn from them, love them, serve them, plan with them, start with what they know, build on what they have. It is not a showcase, but a system pattern. It's not relief, but release. Leadership is not just to demonstrate something on the outer, but it's to create a deep inner change in the attitudes of people. Leadership is about that 1% change in attitudes that creates 100% change in results. A 1% change in attitudes that creates 100% change in results. See, we judge people by performance, but before performance, the person, the essence of the person is what is count. So I wrote a paper on leadership which guided me for the last many years, which is coincidentally based on the initials IPS. I stands for image. Image not in the journalistic sense of a superficial outer coating or what people see on the outer, but it means who you are essentially. Image is what you are, performance is what you do, substance is what you have. Today the world is operating on a reverse paradigm of substance first, performance next, image last. And that is why even in substantive terms our achievements are less. Instead you focus, as the chairman indicated, you focus on who you are. You invest into that. Automatically what you do will also multiply. Your performance will be enhanced. As Mr. Venki said, leadership is about enhancing people. It's about enabling people to do their very best, to achieve their highest. And automatically when you do better, you have more also. Jim Rohn also summed up what he said. The President Quincy's quote of 150 years ago, he summed it up more cryptically. He said, be more, do more, have more. Leadership is about enabling people to be more. If you're a journalist, don't just be a journalist, be a social reformer. There are many other talents in you that can also be triggered. There are many things in you which will motivate many people. If you are an army officer, don't just remain an army officer. There are many things that you can do in Kashmir or wherever you are posted to build bridges with people. Leadership is about building bridges with people. So I found the police was Then, as now in most parts of the world, you see recently in Dallas, 5 police officers were shot dead. Innocent because they were doing their duty. And they had no idea that morning when they left their home and kissed their wives or their family goodbye that that would be their final farewell. And that they would return a bloodied mess. Leadership is an amalgam of many things. You cannot precisely put your finger and say this is the formula to create great leaders. You can always say that these are the things that create bad leaders. But what are the things that create good leaders? You cannot put it into a formula. But having a purpose, to be driven by a purpose, that is key. Apart from being people-centric, I said, why does the police exist? The police exists for the sake of the people. If police exists for the sake of the people, why should the people fear and hate the police? It becomes dysfunctional, or it weakens the police from performing to its best, and it weakens the people in all professions from doing their best because they lack a sense of security. And therefore, Friends of Police became my dream to build these bridges between people and police. The genesis of it, in order to drive it into your deep memories, I need to take you back to May 21st, 1991. On that gory night, when I was walking 3 feet ahead of the former Prime Minister, the John F. Kennedy of India, Sri Rajiv Gandhi, walked 18 feet down a red carpet. And as he was receiving shawls and greetings from the people whom we had checked and lined up along the edge of that red carpet, at one point he stopped to listen to a young girl dressed in white who was unusually reading a poem written in Hindi, a Tamil girl who had written a poem in Hindi in praise of him. I thought he would not stop. I took one more step, turned right, I didn't see him because a large number of women, including the girl's mother, had been beckoned and they had surrounded the former Prime Minister. At that time, a massive blast took place. I was thrown in the air and fell momentarily unconscious at the feet of the mangled remains of Rajiv Gandhi. Thereafter I said, even if I'm going to bleed to death, with my professional pride, I said I'm not going to call anybody as I could have. There were people who were bystanders looking around. But I didn't call anybody. But one inspector whom I had upbraided in the afternoon for some indiscipline on the part of his men, for smoking as my jeep was passing as a ASP jeep. That man remembered me and he came and picked me up. And he put me in the back of a jalopy of a jeep because my own jeep driver, fearing consequences, had fled. And at that time the inspector had to return to go and rescue scores of people who are lying injured. So he left me alone on the back of that jeep. But suddenly I found a young boy with a torn shirt cradling my head in his lap. And he was giving me drops of water because I was already lying there half an hour in that open ground with bleeding wounds from multiple pellets which still exist in different parts of my body. And due to the intense thirst, I was probably asking for water and he gave me drops of water. I do not know how he had the training or the presence of mind or where he got the water to give me drops from a cotton wad. But that incident later on became the seed for me to think of Friends of Police. I said, how do I empower people? My whole purpose in joining the police is not just to enjoy the perks and privileges of office, but it is to empower people. The greatest investments in public policy and governance is to empower people. The people are always treated as a spare wheel, when actually they should be the driving wheel of the vehicle of democracy. I recalled my study of political science and the Indian Constitution, the first words, "We the people of India." I said, where did I get these powers to execute the laws. I got it from the Constitution and the people of India. And so how do I empower them in return? And I came up with this concept of power syndrome, where the power have-nots hate the police when the power haves do not share it. But the moment the power haves share it with the power have-nots, there is amazing love. Leadership is about love. It is not about the ghost-step marches of Hitler's troops. It is not about driving terror into the minds of people, as in North Korea. It is about love. Leadership is ultimately about serving people. The more people you serve, the greater the leader you are. So as a leader in the making, discover what is the greater purpose in your life, which will make you passionate and which will also enable you to impassion and empower large numbers of people. The larger the number, the greater the cause, and the greater the leader you become. And so I talked about this in various Rotary clubs and other fora, and it was immediately welcomed. And then in the presence at the time as a young SP, the present Chief Minister used to first listen to young SPs for their suggestions. So I read out a paper of the cost-benefit analysis of the Friends of Police movement, and I requested her, Madam, you're not only a friend of the police, but you're a friend of the people. I request you to extend this movement to the whole state of Tamil Nadu. And with that historic geo issued on that day, the movement still continues. And it became planted soon after the internet came into being as an international, the only available international blueprint for community policing on the net. I did not even know about the internet at that time, but I had sent out my articles to community policing leaders across the world. Community policing by that time had become a buzzword in the United States, Japan, and other cities like Singapore. But that is not very precise. Even after 10, 20 years of running community policing programs, 1/3 of the police did not fully understand what is community policing. But Friends of Police makes it crystal clear. When I asked an ordinary fisherman who lives under the shadow of the Pamban Bridge connecting the hometown of the former President Abdul Kalam and mainland India and Ramnad, I asked him, why did you join a matriculate? He said, sir, I want to be a bridge between the police and the people. That metaphor better describes the purpose of community policing and Friends of Police than any criminologist or any professor of any subject. So in order to create solutions, you should not look within your own business, within your own profession. All real world problems are international, interprofessional, and interdisciplinary. And this is what has led me in recent years when I was Commissioner Trichy to ideate and create this concept of Exenomics. Exenomics is basically continual improvement, all-round improvement. It's not only improvement in whatever is your greatest strength, your forte, but it's all-round improvement as a human being, as a professional, as a businessman, as a family person, as a citizen. See, many leaders live double lives. John F. Kennedy, led a double life. On one hand, he was a young, charismatic, noble leader. But behind the walls of White House, there are so many goings on which are not even known till today. So a leader has to be completely focused on his personal integrity. Clinton once said that, being the President of the United States, I'm talking of the Bill Clinton, not Hillary, who's not yet the President. He said, being the President of the United States is a lot like standing in a cemetery. You have a lot of people under you, but nobody listening to you. So if you're only a titular leader, if you do not have the moral authority, you would find people are not really listening to you. They will appear to be listening to you. That's why in the police, whether you like the boss or not, you salute. But what is in the heart of the man as he salutes? That is the key. You have to earn the respect of the heart. And that's why Friends of Police is a hearts and mind strategy. Eventually, when the hunt for Veerappan took place, I also suggested it to the then chief of the STF that you need a hearts and mind strategy. And eventually they were able to win over people to the STF who were able to give advice, counsel, as well as specific intelligence about the movements of that brigade, and it led to a successful conclusion of a manhunt that lasted 3 decades across 3 states. So for success in any business, profession, governance, or NGO, what is key is networking with people. Like-minded people. Initially they may not be like-minded, but you need the communication skills. That's why you need to develop communication skills. There are 3 things very important for leadership. You know what they are? What are the 3 very important things for leadership? Please shoot, whatever you like.
Passion.
Passion. Anything else? Empathy. Listener. But I say it is communication, communication, and communication. You got to be a communicator who listens, not just to the words of people, but to their feelings. As you are listening, I need to understand your feelings, whether you are on the same frequency with me. It is not just about being eloquent, but it is having the ability to have your bullets. Your words should be life-giving bullets penetrating the psyche, the heart and spirit of man, where no scalpel can reach. Life-giving bullets. A leader is a person who gives life, not takes life. Of course, in warlike situations, you've had generals like Montgomery and others, Eisenhower, and we have Manekshaw here who had to rise to that occasion. In the police, sometimes in law and order situations, we may be compelled to take life. But our priority should be to give life, to enable life, to help people and not to harm. I'd say soon after this Prince of Police was started, I was faced with a major law and order imbroglio in a small town called Kilakare. How many of you have heard of Kilakare or been there? Few have. So you see, it is a minority-dominated town, 90%. And there was a certain procession, religious procession had to be taken through for the first time. And there was stone throwing. They were throwing, balls which had nails all round. And they were ready to, even the women were coming to obstruct it. But as I told my team to raise their guns, tear gas guns initially, declared the mob illegal, a voice came from that crowd. Philip sir, Vanda sir. I said immediately lower the guns. Out of respect for my listening to that voice of sanity, they immediately withdrew into the particular place. And they remained peaceful, at least at the time. Of course, a few, of these missiles were thrown when the actual procession went through. But at least cost to people, we were able to complete this mission. And that's how community policing is about building cost-effective problem-solving partnerships between police and people. A leader should be a problem solver. To be a problem solver, you cannot do it on your own. You can only come up with one creative idea, and that creative idea itself you should tap into the ethos, the spirit of the people. As James Zen said, start with what the people know. The people know about friendship. The people know about themselves. So Friends of Police is easily understood. And therefore, they want to associate with the mystique of the police. That's the draw. They do not get any honorarium. They do not get any other monetary reward. No assurance of employment. And yet, 10 people have sacrificed their lives. They made the ultimate sacrifice while assisting police in the last 20 years. You can give them an applause. That is the least we can do. Next. Yeah. So, for leadership, you need certain moral qualities of courage, whether you're in business, like Mr. Venki was talking about venturing into new domains. You need the spirit of an Alexander the Great. I'm not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I'm afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. You need to have lion-like qualities. A leader should be not someone who is caught down by fear, by his own inner voice telling him that you may fail. People may laugh at you. But you have that power of conviction that you go ahead, taking all due precautions. As Abraham Lincoln said, whatever you are, be a good one. We are not talking about bad leaders, destructive leaders, but we are talking about good to great leaders. Each one of us here, and those who are listening on the web, should aim to be a good to great leader. And it is not beyond us. We just need to move out of our comfort zones to our challenge zones. This is a concept that I've coined in management called challenge zone. Move out of comfort zone to challenge zones. The last couple of weeks, I have a trainer coming to me to train me and my daughters and in our home gym. Every day he's pushing me to do a little more. He's enabling me to discover a new nerve, a new muscle. And moving on my own, I would not have moved out of my comfort zone. The moment pain hit, I would have stopped. But here he is pushing me. He knows it is safe to go a little beyond the comfort zone into the challenge zone. So in every area of life, we need to move from the comfort to the challenge zone. In the challenge zone, there are great risks. But a ship is not meant to stay in the harbor. It is meant for the high seas. Each of us is meant for the high seas. When I launched this movement, my father-in-law was a builder. He is no more, but he was a great builder. And he very perceptively told me, Prateep, as you do these new things, you will attract a lot of negative attention. He gave me this metaphor. You see, the tallest building in the city, all other buildings will look at it with a sense of insecurity and try to bring it down. That image stuck in my mind, and it is true. Peter Drucker said, innovate or perish. But in India, the truth is innovate and perish. If you innovate, either you will perish or innovation will be made to perish, whichever is earlier. And therefore, you must be willing to face these kind of resistance and risks. So the purpose defines the leadership. The purpose is connected with what I call precognition. The technology of human accomplishment is divided into 3 stages in my view. Precognition, that means before a thing happens, you dream of it. You define the purpose and you write down specific goals. Steps by which you will achieve that dream. Next comes cognition, where you take conscious efforts with the help of teams. You create teams, competent teams. For every weakness of a team member, there should be someone who has the strength to complement and offset that weakness. Do not look for people with all kinds of strengths, but put together teams, and they will enable us to achieve these goals. India today is marching ahead with regard to rocket technology because of the existence of such scientific teams in ISRO. In very fields of technology, India is achieving the targets quietly because these technologists and scientists are working quietly below the radar of publicity. And at the same time, we have people who are aiming to stop this progress. And that is why we need every citizen. Every citizen counts. Every citizen should become a FOP. An FOP would enable you not only to be a bridge between police and the people, but it also enables you to achieve all the higher goals of every human being and every citizen. It also means friends of pupils, mentoring students, training them. How many of you have so many excellent talents, but how many of you have spent hours trying to mentor a young student? See, this young student from the University of Madras, he came to me, he wanted to be mentored. I gave him challenging tasks, like preparing presentations, putting together 2,000 Philippisms that I've written over the last 5 years to publish the world's largest single collection of quotes by a single individual. And various other things, so that he will expand, his mind will expand. He came to learn something about economic offenses, he learned that. But beyond that, he learned about the lessons of leadership. So it always seems impossible until it is done. When I started it, people said it's impossible to create change in the police department, which is always dealing with negative interventions. The conditioning is negative. The training is negative. But I felt it is possible. In a whole room, there would be very few people supporting me. But the people were with me. Why has the movement sustained till today? One is, I had got the sanction at the highest level. The other reason is people. Today also I met, coincidentally, some friends of police from Namakkal. See, Ganeshan, 25 years ago I was in Namakkal as the first SP. And today he still remembers those lessons and he's continuing to support friends of police in the district of Namakkal and the town of Namakkal. So, impossible is achieved with a series of possible steps. Ultimately, it is a mandate that we are given. A leader is no ordinary human being. It is a God-given mandate. Like Moses was given a mandate. You must have that sense that it is a sacred mission. It is not just living for our bread and butter to make a living, but it is to fulfill the very purpose why we are created. Each of us are called to set free somebody from either fear, lack of confidence, from failure, from distress, and so on. It is not possible to be in favor of justice for some people and not be in favor of justice for all people. This is one of the things that led me to create this concept and movement called social justice tea parties. I was posted as IG social justice some 7 years ago as IG. They thought that I would not be able to do any work. But there I hit on the biggest concept, which is now one of the chapters in a book on what 13 IPS officers have done since independence. And it is called Social Justice Tea Parties. I said that why is there discrimination in the tea shops in villages and in society against various communities? Instead, let us make this tea, which is the very source of friction, the tea shop, that become the venue of hosting social justice tea parties. So at a cost of 3 rupees for a tea and biscuits, more than 1 million people attended thousands of tea parties, some 40,000 villages, including hamlets, conducted the social justice tea parties. And it had a ripple effect in terms of creating awareness about social justice. Of course, it's not as if, we always show off our successes as trophies in the living room while hiding all our failures in the basement. So we need to always know that every successful leader has left behind him a trail of failures. Abraham Lincoln had lost 18 elections before eventually he won the most significant election, which changed the history of that continent. So we need to be persistent about whatever we are doing. And we will not be persistent unless we are passionate. And here we need to enjoy what we are doing. I enjoy speaking. I enjoy training. I enjoy empowering and inspiring youngsters and others. It should be something that you enjoy. It should not be a strain on you. It should not be a burden. It should come out naturally. That is passion. It's a natural flow from you. As natural as the oxygen that you breathe. So as I said, there will always be a resistance. But we need to have the inner power to overcome the resistance. Even in introducing new technological innovation, there is resistance in the market. If you see the movie of Steve Jobs, when he brings the new unique motherboard that had never been done before, the distributor refuses to accept it. And it requires a lot of quiet persuasion for the distributor to send it around and find that the market accepts it. So if you judge people, you have no time to love them. We judge ourselves by our potential and judge others by their performance. We need to revise that, and we need to look at the potential of people. The potential of Indians is tremendous. 1.3 billion people can transform this nation and the world. Every one of us should stand for peace and progress, not just of India, not the boast that we are a superpower, but that the world is better off. Each one should work in the area where we are. If you are a mother, be a better mother. Inspire these ideas in your children. If you are a teacher, don't be modest about your profession. It is a noble profession. It is said a good teacher informs, a great teacher inspires. Look at the number of human lives that are passing through your fingers. Look at the amazing potential you can, tap if you just spark off change in one individual who may be the Gandhi of our times, who will be able to withstand the amazing pressures of the current environment. There is no limit to the possibilities of human leadership. And therefore, I once again congratulate the MMA and the weekend leader for having organized this conclave. I would ask you also to look at another concept of mine, which is a thought process. You also need to be a thought leader, EQ thinking. The entire Tirukural I have condensed, which means any thought process around the world, I've condensed to just two phrases: be at it, beat it. I leave you with this thought. Be at it means be positive continuously, nothing new about it. But beat it means beat negative continuously. So as long as you are breathing in oxygen, which is be at it, and breathing out carbon dioxide, which is beat it, you can set this thought process in your mind and it becomes autopilot. You'll be on the leadership thought process on autopilot. Even while you're sleeping, it will begin to work to generate positive change in your thoughts, emotions, which ultimately lead to actions and change your reactions. So be at it, beat it. All of you join me in saying, be at it, beat it. Thank you.
I told you in the beginning about the booming voice and the messages and the thoughts, and what I was particularly intrigued. I have not heard this story. One was about the Rajiv Gandhi and his experience at that point of time. That's really, in a way, it disturbs you and also inspires you to do more. And other was in what do you call, in Kilakare, he was saying, Philip sir, I think that those are the little bit of that humanness which makes a lot of difference. Thank you so much for informing and inspiring us, sir. Now I open the floor for questions and we take it over from there.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Nikhil. So when you said that first start with people what they know, and you also parallelly you were telling about many a times as a leader we have bigger ideas in place and the resource in place, but we are not able to reach that out to the people who are working for that. And when you said the statement of do what they know, sometimes when you know that we start doing what they know is too smaller for something which you need to achieve, and then you're in this world of so many changes happening in such great speed, so you have to just move on, going for it. So is it a good idea in your leadership of last so many years and being in police, when you know the larger objective clear in your mind, and when people are not with you, when the people become so important in leadership, is it good to keep carrying on, or you really go back and get the basics right of first putting people in place and get your ideas in place before you go up? Hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, go ahead. Good question. See, the leader has a hold on the big picture. The people are there in the details. Why did I create Friends of Police? Police have the vision about crime, how to prevent crime. But who are the people who are there everywhere all the time? It's not police. People are there in the forest. People are there by the riverside, in the cities, on the highways, at any time of night or day around the world. They are the Google of leadership. And so you tap into the wisdom of the crowd. I'll give you a simple example. When this Kilakare was a huge, I was posted there to face this challenge. Because the previous, my predecessor failed. It resulted in a stalemate, a huge stalemate the previous year. And nobody has ever before carried out that successful bandobast. But I started talking to people. That's what we mean by tapping into people's ideas. So one journalist belonging to that town, he gave me an idea which neither the intelligence bureau nor the Q branch, nor my special branch, nor my law and order officers gave me. He said, sir, you put barricading in the town. Nobody does barricading for law and order. They do barricading only for VIP bandobast because it involves expenditure, effort and all this. It's never done, unprecedented. I said, okay, that's a good idea. I put barricading. Now, how did it help? Not only it prevented from, crowds from coming through streets and attacking with Molotov cocktails, etc. The previous day when the barricading was done, there was a huge protest by the youth. They came on the road and said, why you have done barricading? A pregnant woman cannot go to the hospital for delivery. I said, if anybody needs to go, we'll put them in a police jeep and send them. And that actually happened during the bandobast. So we were able to again convince them, and not only that, we knew their strength. What are the numbers they're going to come? What is the passion with which they're going to oppose? And so we could assess the threat also. So many things on which you cannot put a finger by tapping into the horizontal levels. If you are considered the vertical, you will build the strength of the organization. In the factory context, I'll give you that famous example of the cartons of soap in a factory. You know that illustration? Cartons of soap, and sometimes one or two used to come empty, and that brought a bad brand name to the company. So they decided to invent a machine which will detect empty soap cartons. But when he asked the factory workers, they said, sir, it's very simple. You just put a nice powerful fan and it will blow up the empty thing. So that idea cannot come from a managing director, the CEO. It has to come from the floor level worker. So you tap into, when you consult them, their ideas may be small in the beginning, but it becomes like a plant. The more you tap into human beings' ideas, the more it grows. He gets acknowledged. He says, I can be a source of wisdom to the top management. He grows, and he'll eventually give you ideas which are completely creative, innovative, and useful.
All murders and burglaries take place between 10 and 6 a.m. So can you please ask all the police officials to work in the night, 10 to 6 a.m. and then afterwards let them go and sleep for the early morning, daytime, so that burglaries and these murders will stop and you will get good name.
No, then the criminals will shift there to a day shift. Then what will you do? So a leader should always balance between strategies. Always don't work out only for day or night. Have a balance. Learn the trends.